Hey guys, what's up? It's the Knife Enthusiast here, coming at you with another comparison video on the Benchmade 42 Spring Latch versus the Benchmade 42 T-Latch. Now, I've been delaying this video for a while now, and since I'm actually putting my 42 T-Latch up for sale, I thought, what better time to make a comparison video on the two than right before I'm about to sell one of them. So, I finally decided to make this video today, and I'm super excited. So, first of all, first feature I want to get into is the logos, because this is very controversial and a lot of people actually get this very confused. They think that the T-Latch 42s are not real because they do not have the proper markings for the logos. Well, when the 42 T-Latches were manufactured, they were the first version of the 42. The Spring Latch was a later version. They did not have the actual 42 number under the Balisong butterfly. The Spring Latches did, which was kind of a telltale sign if it was real. They also did not have the blade steel on the earlier models, which was also another sign. But a lot of people thought that these were replica or Chinese copies or whatever you want to call them, knives. So they thought these were not the real versions. They were the fake ones based on those markings. But the Chinese replicas, I would say, copies, do not actually have T-Latch versions of the 42. They have the Spring Latch replicas and copies, which are very popular around for people that don't want to buy the real 42. But they actually did not make a T-Latch version, so that's basically one thing that would tell you that this is a real 42, that they never made a copy of the 42 T-Latch. So that's one thing I wanted to get into, and I'll show you the markings on the Spring Latch one to show you what I mean. On the Spring Latch, they added that tiny little 42, and yeah, my 42's got a little polish on it, so makes it shine more. It's got that very tiny 42, if you can pick that up. My camera can't really focus in much more. Yeah, that's about the best I can do, is way down here. So it's got that tiny little 42 down there. On the back, it's got the blade steel 440C right above the Benchmade USA logo, which was a nice touch on Benchmade's part. So that was a main feature that a lot of people were actually concerned about because they thought their T-Latches were fake because they didn't have that logo on there. And, alright, finally, focus back in. So they thought it was fake because they didn't have that logo back in there, and it was kind of a big concern. But trust me, the T-Latch versions are probably, the most real 42 you can get because there aren't really any copies of it, whereas there are tons of different versions of the copied Benchmade 42s that are available. So next feature, I guess I'll get these as close up here as I can, is the blades. No, that's not a good angle for me. Hold on, guys. Can I put them in this hand? Yeah, let's try that. Is the blades. Now, they look kind of similar. Same kind of basic principles going on here. But the 42 Spring Latch is a little bit more refined, more production, just looks better, just a little bit, I don't know, more machined, more professionally done, I guess I would say. Whereas the 42 T-Latch kind of looks a little bit more curved, more custom or basic, I would say. I don't know, it doesn't look as refined and machined as the 42 T-Latch. And also, the 42 Spring Latch has a straight edge that comes up to an upswept round edge there, I would say. Getting a little confused here. And the T-Latch has a tiny curve there, I would say, in the blade, and then it kind of upsweeps there to make the Weehawk. So there is a little bit of a difference in the blade, not much, but that's about it. Also, it doesn't have that toil there, I would say. I guess that would be called a toil. This one doesn't have much of a toil. That one has a pretty pronounced one. So that's a big difference. Also, they machined the holes on the, swapping hands here, on the Spring Latch, as you can see by the rings, whereas it looks kind of, I guess I would say the 42 T-Latch looks a little bit more custom done than the Spring Latch 42. The 42 looks more machined and refined and has kind of like perfect lines and stuff, whereas the 42 T-Latch looks a little bit more custom and hand done kind of fashion, or not as refined. I don't know how I would describe that, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. So the whole pattern doesn't have those rings, obviously, because they were not drilled out like those were. But what the 42 T-Latch does have that the spring latch doesn't, which I found a little bit surprising until I actually looked at it myself, is it has one more set of holes. The spring latch has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. T-Latch has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the T-Latch actually is lighter than the spring latch. Not by much, but it is lighter because of those extra holes cut out there. I think they purposely didn't cut those out because they needed the extra rod to hold the spring latch. I believe that's what they did, not exactly sure. But they did not add that 7th hole. So not really a big deal to me, but if you liked it a little bit lighter, then that's probably for you. So the T-Latch, obviously, just basic T-Latch. I can't really say much about it. It's free, doesn't stay straight, flops around, hits the other handle. I honestly am not a big fan of the T-Latches on the 42 T-Latch, or the 4X T-Latch version knives. I just, not a big fan, don't like them. Spring latch, probably the best spring latch or latch system I've ever seen on any balisong. On the Benchmade 42 spring latch, it stays perfectly straight. Move it this way, comes back into place. Move it that way, back into place. Only flaw I would say was that it's just perfectly straight, so if you drop it weird, you might break the spring. I haven't had that happen to me before, but I've heard some people do it, but I honestly don't think that's that big of a deal. Love the way the latch looks and it's designed. Feels great, can do latch manipulation from any angle. On the spring latch one, which I'll go ahead and set these down so I can show you individually. But the spring latch, move it back here, flops back into place, flops back into place over there. And if I can get a good zoom in of the circle here, it's very, very thick oval, so you can get a very nice, comfortable grip. And since it's got that circle disc latch, when you're doing latch manipulations, your fingers can literally be in any position you want them to be, and they will always be comfortable for latch manipulations. Whereas on the T-Latch, you're very limited where you can put your fingers. Now, like I said, not a big fan of the T-Latch. Main reason, hits your handle there. The T-Latch on the 42 actually comes up a little bit more than other T-Latches I've seen. Other T-Latches come about right there. The 42 actually comes up a little bit more, about there. So, kind of gets in the way a little bit. Not a big fan of this T-Latch. Also, what I don't like is the fact that it's very limited in the comfort. It's a very square, boxy feel there. Now, I like the T-Latch 42 because it's lighter and I like flipping it, but I just have a pet peeve with T-Latches in general. I'm not a big fan. This one is a little bit more rectangle, so it's not as comfortable. You can still do latch manipulations in this position, where your fingers come under that those two arches there, so that's a very comfortable grip, but you can't really adjust it in any way you want like the T-Latch or the spring latch version. So that's one thing that I found that was a little bit different there, and I just not a big fan of T-Latches. I like some T-Latches, like the Alpha Beast is the biggest exception because it just bounces off, never gets in the way, but these old T-Latches, not a big fan. So, other than that, they are both channel construction titanium handles. So, looks like the 42 is a little bit softer handles looking, I would say, on the T-Latch 42. Both channel construction, as you can see here, a little bit more rounded and smooth on the T-Latch version, which actually I was surprised. A lot of the edges and just overall, basically everything on the handles are a lot softer and smoother. It looks like they were kind of smoothed out on the 42 T-Latch, whereas the edges are more refined and kind of sharper on the spring latch version. So that's very nice. They both come with Torx screws, single tang pin on both of them, same horns. So flippability, in my opinion, spring latch outflips it, mainly because it's the same weight, but the latch never gets in the way, and I mean ever. So it's just a very fluent thing. You have to worry about the latch getting in your way. It is a little bit heavier, which I kind of like because I feel like the 42 spring latch is the perfect weight, whereas the 42 T-Latch, it's a little bit lighter. I can do moves faster with the T-Latch version because it is a tad bit lighter, but it doesn't really make a difference in weight because it's just a very minuscule amount. Latch always gets in the way on the T-Latch one, mainly for flipping. I just don't like it because it'll just stall up right there, and in the hand when you're flipping, that's a pretty big gap that you've got there, and I just not a big fan of that. So that's the main reason I don't like the T-Latch, because it kind of just stops up your moves, and very dangerous when you're doing advanced moves and your move just stops midway, so you can cut yourself. But yeah, both knives flip great, and they are really, really, really great quality battle songs. T-Latch version, main thing I like about the T-Latch is that it locks up very solid. So if I can get that in there, locks up very solid and flat. So you can literally stand it up like that and just stand it up, I guess. So I really like how it's just kind of flat and has that lockup is just so tight. So love that, but for flipping, it gets in the way a little bit. I don't really know what else I would say about these knives. Already went over the logos. Spines are the same, both flat, very sharp edges there. Not sharp, but I mean they're not rounded off. So spines are basically the same. I think that's about everything. They both have torque screw construction with pins, and the main difference is the 42 T-Latch is a little bit lighter because of these extra holes here. Like I said, 7 holes, 6 holes on the spring latch, and the different latch designs, the T-Latch and the spring latch. Spring latch will be a better flipper any day than a T-Latch, in my opinion. I just love spring latches. But I love the lockup and the feel of the T-Latch, even though it does get in the way sometimes. I do like to flip the occasional T-Latch. It's really great. So that's about it for the review, guys, or the comparison, I should say. Hope you guys liked it. Wanted to get this out of the way while I still had the 42 to be able to film with and make this video on. Covered everything I wanted to cover, so I'm glad I finally got this one out of the way. If you have not seen my for sale video on the T-Latch 42 yet, then I actually mentioned at the end of that a couple of things I'll be doing update-wise this coming week. I was on vacation the past week, so I did not make any videos. But this week I'll be posting a couple of videos, and next week I will move on to reviewing the knives I got 2 weeks ago. So that's a little update for you guys there. Yeah, so both these knives, great flippers. 42 spring latch I feel is a better flipper, but they're both great quality, and they're lightweight, and I love them both for flipping, honestly. So thank you guys for watching. This has been The Knife Enthusiast. Subscribe, like this video, and I will see you next time.